Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So if we do our place value grid, and so we've got units here, tenths and hundredths. Don't think we need any more. So we can put in our number, it's 5.87, and you can see here that the 8 here is in the tenths column. So the 8 represents 8 tenths. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10 or 7 tenths. For us to create the smallest number, we need to pick the smallest digits at the start of the number. So the smallest digit is 3, then the next smallest digit is 4, next smallest digit is 5, and then the next smallest digit is 8. But it wants it to be an odd number, and this is an even number. So we have to move that 8 forward 1 and have that 5 at the end. So the smallest odd number is 3,485. Percent means per 100. So 8% is the same as 8 over 100. Now we can cancel this down because it wants it in simplest form, so we can halve top and bottom. So it becomes 4 over 50. We can actually halve it again, so it becomes 2 over 25. So the answer is 2 over 25. A comparative bar chart is where you have 2 bars next to each other meaning different things. So it's probably easier just to start drawing it, and then we can talk about it as we go along. So we've got males here at 12, and so what we want to do is a bar that is 12 high, and these are going up in 2s, so it will be up here. There we go. And then right next to it, we're going to do females, which is 14. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make this go up to 14. And there we go. Now, we need to be able to tell these apart. So what I'm going to do is just shade in the females. And we should do a little key. And we say that if they're not shaded, it's males. And if they're shaded, that is females. Okay, let's carry on with the bar chart. So it's 14 and 6. So notice I've got gaps between the pairs. So we've got 14 and 6, which will be down here. And again, we're just going to shade in the females. And then finally, we've got 8 and 16. So 8 would be here, and 16 would be up here. And finally, obviously, we're going to shade in the females. Whenever we multiply 2 negatives, we always get a positive, so we know our answer will be positive. We're going to do 9 times 12, which is going to be 108, and v times v, which is going to be v squared. This coordinate is telling us to go 2 to the left from the centre. We go right when it's positive, we go left when it's negative, so it's 2 to the right. And then it's telling us to go 1 up. It's up because it's positive. So we need to go 1 up. And we get to the coordinate of B. So the coordinate we get to is B. And so we just look at the -2 on the x-axis and the 1 on the y-axis, and that is where point B is. To work out the mean, what we need to do is work out the sum of the numbers, basically add them all up, and divide that by the amount of numbers. Now, when we're giving the numbers in a frequency table, it's a little bit more tricky to find the sum of the numbers and the amount of the numbers, but there are some really strong techniques. The first thing I want to just highlight is that a frequency table is just saying that there are 5 lots of 4. So we can imagine writing out 5 lots of 4. Okay, and then there are 10 lots of 5. So you can imagine writing 10 lots of 5. I'm not going to, but that's all a frequency table is saying. Okay, so how do we work out what the numbers will add up to? Well, let's look at those 4s. How many 4s are there? Well, there's 5 of them. And what are 5 4s? Well, to work that out, we just times them. 5 4s are 20. So we create this FS column, S for sweets. Okay, and what that's telling us is all of those 4 sweets added together are 20. If we keep going through this, there are 10 lots of 5, well that just makes 50, 5 lots of 6, which is 30, 8 lots of 7, which is 56, and then 2 lots of 8, which is 16. Now altogether what do they add up to? Well, we know these add up to 20, these add up to 50, these add up to 30, etc, etc. But altogether, they're going to add up to whatever this column adds up to. And we can show that as a kind of sigma fs. And we just add up the 20, 50, 30, 56, 16. So we add up that column, which is going to be 172. So we know the top is 172. Now the second part is to work out how many numbers there are. Well, there are 5 numbers in the first column, 10 in the second column, 5 in the next row I should say, 8 in the next row, and then 2 in the next row. So to work out how many there are in total, we just add those up, and we call that the sum of F column. And we do 5 plus 10 plus 5 plus 8 plus 2, add those together, which is 30. So all we need to do to work out the mean is 172 divided by 30, which is going to be 5.733 blah blah blah. It wants it to 2 decimal places, so what we're going to do is just round that to 5.73. For each of these options, try and construct in your head the triangles that would be made from these lengths. And I'm going to give an example for question D, or for option D. And I'm going to construct my triangle just with sticks. So we're going to start off with our first stick, which is 19 centimeters. Then we're going to do another stick, which is going to be 37 centimeters. And we've got one last stick, which is 61 centimeters. Now, looking at the first 2 sticks, the actual combined distance of them, so when we add them together, so be 19 centimeters plus 37 centimeters, is 56 centimeters. So that's the combined width of them. And you can see that that actually wouldn't be able to create a triangle if the third stick is 61 centimeters. So the side here could combine with this side. So we could move this whole stick here onto this side here, but we can't actually make a triangle with it because the 2 lengths that we've got won't ever reach the end bit here. They just won't ever reach that bit to be able to create the triangle. And I'm just going to put that back. So our answer is option D. So we can see that the first 4 of these have already been plotted. Now it's really important that you you do the coordinate the right way around. So the first one is number and then algebra. So we're looking at this coordinate here. We're 18 on number, which would be here, and then 14 on algebra, which would be this point here. 12 on both, so 12 and 12 would be here, and then 21 and 17, so 21 and 17 would be roughly there. The formula for the area of a triangle is half times the base times the height. Now the base is the normally the length on the bottom, but that's not always the case. The important bit though is that the base and the height hit each other at 90 degrees. So this length here is not going to be the height because it hits the base at an acute angle. If we look, it's here. Same with the one on the left. The height is obviously going to be this length here in the middle. So let's put that into our formula. Half times the base, which is 5, times the height, which is 3. So it's going to be half times 15, and that will equal 7.5. Both the length in the diagram are centimetres, therefore the area will be centimetres squared. There are a number of different ways of working out this question. You can find out the amount of tissues per penny. You can work out the amount of, or the price of one tissue, or you can get all the amount of tissues into the same amount. I'm going to find out the price per one tissue. And we're going to start off with the 24. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert the money into pence, just to mean that we don't have as much decimal. And we're going to do 807. I'm going to divide by the 24 to find out the price of one tissue. So that is 33.625. And so I'm just going to round that to 33.63. I'm just going to round everything to 2 decimal places, which says in the question. Next one, we're going to do the 20 soft tissues. So this time I'm going to do 683 divided by 20. When I put that into the calculator, you get 34.15, so that's already 2 decimal places. And then finally we're going to do the 15 soft tissues. So we're going to do the 623 divided by 15 to find the price per tissue. It should be 41.533 blah blah blah, and rounded would be 41.53. So if you buy 15 tissues, it will cost 41 pence. 20 tissues, it will be 34 pence per tissue, but 24 tissues will be 33.63. So that's by far the cheapest. The best value is the 24 tissues box. Now, there's such thing as buying in bulk. Generally, the more you buy of something, the cheaper it is. Don't rely on that. Both in the GCSE, both in the exam, and in real life. Sometimes in real life, if you buy more of an item, actually per tissue, sometimes it becomes more expensive, especially if there's a special offer on the smaller box. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012. So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. So a stem leaf diagram is just a way of showing raw data. This 1 here could either mean 10 or it could mean 1. In this case we're using it to represent a 1, because if you look at the data they're all either 1 point something, 2 point something, 3 point something or 4 point something. So looking at the 1 point somethings, we've got a 1.1 there and we've got a 1.4. Looking at the 2 points, we've got a 2.1, 2.3, 2.4 and 2.8. Looking at the 3s, we've got 3.8, and looking at 4s, we've got 4.2, 4.4 and 4.7. And so in our key here, we're just going to pick this number here. It doesn't actually matter which number we pick. And we say 1 line 1 means 1.1 centimetres. The front elevation of a shape is the view you'll get if you were standing at the front. So if you imagine you're standing here, the only side you will see is this side here. And what will it look like? Well, it will look like a complete square or rectangle. And how high will it be? Well, it will be 6 centimetres high. And how wide will it be? Well, it will be 2 centimetres wide. So what we're going to do is we're going to just draw a rectangle that is 2 centimetres wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 centimetres tall. There we go. And make sure that you don't add any three-dimensional aspects to it, that you don't do something like this, have some 3D stuff on it. No. Whenever you do a front elevation, it's exactly perfectly two-dimensional. To compare fractions, we must have the denominators to be the same number. So we're going to look at the 6, 2 and 4 times table. We're going to try and find a number that's in all the times table. So I'm just going to write out a few numbers in each times table. And we already see a common one there, which is 12. And actually 12 is in all the times tables. And you can see 4 is in 2 of the times tables, 6 is in 2, but only 12 is in all of them. So we're going to convert these so that they're all over 12. And what I'm going to do is times the top and bottom by 2 for this first one, which will be 10 over 12. Then I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 6 in the second one, which will give us 6 over 12. And then finally we're going to times top and bottom by 3 for this last fraction, which gives us 9 over 12. And it wants it in ascending order, so we're looking for the smallest fraction first, which is this one, and writing the original fraction as an answer. And then the next one will be this one, because if you look at the numerators, 6 then 9, which will be 3/4, and then 10 is our biggest one, so that would be 5 over 6. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in, so v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself, so we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10, so minus 10. And we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall. And so to do that, we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or yeah, £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1,003.2. And so as money, that would be £1,003.20. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side. And this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. So looking at the hours and the charge, we know that 4 hours is a charge, and I'm going to do the charge in pence, of 1,980 pence. And so what I want to do is just work out what 1 is. And to do that, I'm going to divide that by 4. So I'm just going to divide this by 4. It's always useful to find out what 1 is first. So that would be 495. Then all I need to do now is times it by 15. Because 1 times 15 is 15. And so we've got 15 hours. And when I times that by 15, I get 7425. So it'd be £74.25. Median means middle of an ordered list. Now, when numbers are put in a stem leaf diagram, it means by default they are in order. So we're going to cross out the smallest and largest number. So the smallest number is the 4 here. Well, actually that represents 34. The largest is this 69 up here. Put a pen away. Then cross out the smallest. Well, the next smallest is 39. And the next largest is this 59. So I'm always going to the top left, then the bottom right. So the top left number is this 43. Bottom right number is this 54. Top left number is this 44. Bottom right number is this 53. Now, here's a problem. We're left with 2 numbers in the middle, this 49 and this 52. So whenever we're left with 2 numbers, what we do is we add them together, divide by 2. So to find the median, we're going to do 49 plus 52, and we're going to divide that by 2. So 49 plus 52 is going to be 101, divided by 2. And 101 divided by 2 is 50.5, or 50.5. And again, realise that 50.5 is halfway between 49 and 52. So we're going to first of all work out where 9 is on the y-axis. Well, we've got 8 here and 10 here, so 9 will be halfway in between. And what we're going to do now is just draw a line across at 9, and then wait until it hits the line. And then we're going to draw a line down, and you can see here that x is 1. So our answer is that x equals 1. I'm just going to write the question out, so we've got a little bit bigger writing to play with here. And it doesn't actually matter which method you expand these brackets with. I'm going to use Smiles and Rainbows, so we multiply the 8 by the 10x, which will make 80x, and multiply the 8 by the 4, which will make 32. Now here we've got a minus 5 on the outside. So we do minus 5 times 8x, which is minus 40x. And minus 5 times minus 4, which is actually plus 20. And a lot of students will write take away 20 there, but that is a minus 5 on the outside of the brackets there. So it's minus 5 times the minus 4 there will give you a plus 20. Then 80x take away 40x, which will give us 40x. And 32 plus 20, which would be 52. So our answer would be 40x plus 52. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2,115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more, so she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. So we're going to start off with x equals 0, and we're going to write out this equation, but with 0 every time it says x. So it's going to be y equals 0 squared minus 0 plus 10. Well, 0 squared is just 0, so 0 take away 0 is just 0, plus 10 is just going to be 10. So the answer there would be 10. Do the same for 1. So it would be 1 squared minus 1 plus 10. Well, 1 squared is 1, 1 take away 1 is 0, plus 10 is 10. So that will also be 10. 2 squared minus 2 plus 10. 2 squared is 4, 4 take away 2 is 2, plus 10 will be 12. Now we're going to do the negative, so we're going to look at minus 1. So it's y equals minus 1 squared, and it's going to be minus 1 plus 10. So a little bit more complicated here. Minus 1 squared is just 1. Now here you have 2 negatives together. When you have 2 negatives together, it makes a plus. So we've got 1 plus 1 plus 10, which is going to be 12. and then we'll do the minus 2, so it'd be minus 2 squared minus minus 2 plus 10. So minus 2 squared is 4. The two minuses here make a plus, so it'd be plus 2, which would be 6, plus 10 will be 16. So we're going to plot these on our graph. And so we've got minus 2 is at 16, so that'll be there. Minus 1 is at 12, which should be here. 0 is at 10, 1 is at 10, and 2 is at 12. Okay, when you join this up, things to be aware of is you need to make sure that you have a round U at the bottom and not a flat bottom. Okay, so you want to avoid a flat bottom. You also want to make sure that you avoid feathering like that. You want just one nice smooth line. And my recommendation is always to turn the page on its side. I don't have that luxury, so I'm going to try my best with this. But you need to make sure it goes through all the points. And here's the part here where it goes beneath those 2 points. So make sure it goes beneath those 2 points. On most exams, I see them, basically what they do is they draw a line across from those 2 points and say that the line needs to go beneath that, or your curve needs to go beneath that line. So they're looking out so that you've gone beneath the line. Whenever we do these kind of questions, it's always best to convert the pattern into numbers. So we're just going to count the dots. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our sequence is going 9, 13, 17. And we're going to see what it's going up in. So we're adding 4 each time. And that means our sequence will involve 4n. And then what we do is we go backwards 1 to find the 0th term. So we're going to take away 1. So 9 take away 1 is 5. So the 0th term is 5. And the 0th term just tells us what to add on to the 4n. So 4n plus 5 will be our answer. To find an error interval, what we need to do is find the smallest and largest that a number can be. So I start by just drawing a quick number line, and we put our number in the middle, which is 89.6. Now we're looking to the nearest tenth, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the next number down and the next number up in tenths. So the next number down would be 89.5, the next number up would be 89.7. Now the bounds, the upper and lower bound, the maximum and minimum number it could be before rounding, are going to be at the halfway points. So here and here. And so all we need to do is work out what those numbers are. So halfway between 89.5 and 89.6 is 89.55. And halfway between 89.6 and 89.7 is 89.65. So those are going to be our lower and upper bounds. But how do we show it as an error interval? Well, we put t in the middle because it tells us that t is representing the time. And we show it with inequalities. Now, the number can be 89.55, but it can't be 89.65 because that would round to 89.7. So we say everything that's less than but not equal to. Okay, so we're going to start off by working out the multiplier, and we're told, we always start off with 100%, we're told that the compound interest rate is 1.6%, so we're going to add 1.6% to the 100%, and it's going to be 101.6%. Okay, make that into a decimal by dividing it by 100, so we're just going to divide that by 100, and this will give us the decimal or the multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.016, and so anytime we want to increase something by 1.6%, we just times it by 1.016. Now, we're told that we start off with 2,400, that's our original amount, and to find out what it's going to be in the savings account at the end of the first year, we just times it by the multiplier, 1.016. but we're told that it's for 7 years that it's going to be in there. So we then times it by 1.0167 times, or easier way of doing it is 1.016 to the power of 7. When we do that, we get 2,682.052 blah blah blah, and because it's money, we round to the nearest pence, so 2,682.05. To be able to work out this question, we need to work out the amount of student hours required to paint the wall. And to work that out, we've got 6 students and it takes them 11 hours. So 6 times 11 means it's going to take 66 student hours. So if we had 1 student, it would take 66 hours. 2 students would be half of that because they share the work, and etc, etc. So here we've got 6 students and it take 11 hours, and it says how long will it take 7 students. Well, if there's 66 hours, or student hours, but they're sharing the time, we just divide 66 by 7. So 66 divided by 7 is 9.428, blah blah blah. And it says it wants its 2 decimal places, so it will take them 9.43 hours. Now check this makes sense. We've got 6 students and it takes them 11 hours. So we'd think if we had more students helping to paint the wall, it would take less hours. So we've gone from 11 hours to about 9.5. So that sounds right. To work out the area of this sector, there is actually a nice little formula that we can use. And I'm just going to show you what the formula means. So the formula is going to be what fraction of the full circle do we have. Okay, so we're going to find out the fraction of the full circle we have, and then we're going to times that by the area of the circle. So to work out the fraction of the circle we have, we get the angle that we have in the sector, and we divide that by the total amount of angles in a circle, which is 360. Then we times that by the area of a circle, so pi r squared. Let's use that for our question. So the angle we have for this question is 57 times pi r. Now, to work out what r is, we just imagine the circle is whole. I'll do a badly drawn circle. And you can see here that this length here, this 5 centimeters, is the distance between the center of the circle and the circumference. So that is a radius. So it's going to be times 5 squared. Put that into your calculator and you'll get 12.435 blah blah blah. And it says it wants its 2 decimal places, so we round that to 12.44 centimeters squared. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100% and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now, they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69, and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. So we can't work out length CE directly, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by finding length BC. And I'm going to do that using trigonometry. So we've got the 90 degrees there. So it will be, well, we'll start by labeling it. So BC is the hypotenuse, the opposite here and adjacent here. We're not using the adjacent. So we're going to just do our SOHCAHTOA, and we've crossed out the A, So we cross out these two. So it's going to be sine. So we know that sine 79 equals the opposite, which is 29 over the BC. So I'm going to put my solving lines in. And we need to times both sides by BC first of all. So we end up with BC sine 79 equals 29. And we're just going to divide both sides by sine 79. Just a bit of rearranging. So BC will be 29 over sine 79. And when you do that in the calculator, you get 29.542, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so next thing we need to figure out is angle BCE. So where are we? This angle here. And to work that out, we're just going to take 79 away from 90. So angle BCE is 90, take away 79, and that's going to be 11. So we know this is 11 degrees here. And we have enough information now to work out CE, because we've got this triangle here, and we've got this length here, the BC, and we've got this angle here. So we've got enough information now. So we're going to look for length CE. We're going to first of all label the sides. So we've got the opposite here, the hypotenuse opposite the right angle here, and the adjacent here. So this hypotenuse is now an adjacent. We're not using the opposite at all, but we are looking for the hypotenuse. So let's do our little triangles now, find out which one we're using. So we're not using O, so we get rid of sine and tan, and it's going to be a cos. So it's going to be cos 11 equals the adjacent, which is the BC value we've just worked out, over the hypotenuse, which is CE. Now hopefully you've realised from when we did it with the sine thing here, that actually we can just swap these two things over. So we can have it as CE equals 29.542 blah 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 over cos 11. Okay, then we put that into our calculator and we get the answer of 30.095 blah blah blah, and it wants it to one decimal place, so that will be 30.1. Y is inversely proportional to x means that y is proportional to 1 over x. And I'm going to change that for an equal sign by timesing the right hand side by k. And k represents our constant. And we're told that when x is 5, y is 10.8. So I'm going to fill those in. I'm going to substitute those in to be able to find out what k is going to be. So it'll be k over 5. And we're going to be solving this. Let's get my lines in. And solve it, I just times by the bottom of the fraction. So times both sides by 5. And we're going to end up with 50.4 is equal to k. So k is 50.4. I'm going to rewrite this equation here, but we know what k is. It's 50.4. We're asked to find the value of x when y is 9. So we've got 9 equals 50.4 over x. And whenever in this situation here where we've got the unknown at the bottom of a fraction and we've got it equal to a number, what you can do here is actually just swap these around. Effectively we're timesing both sides by x and dividing both sides by 9. But it does really help us out here because it just says that x is equal to 50.4 over 9. We can just do that on the calculator and it gives us 5.6. So the way this formula works is we have m, which is the final amount. The 2000 here is our initial amount. The decimal in here is our multiplier, and the power here is the amount of years. So the way multipliers work is they are the percentage divided by 100. So if we go the other way and times it by 100 to make it back into a percentage, it will be 102.9%. Now it says, what is the interest rate of the bank? Well, the interest rate is always going to be 100%. Well, this 102.9% is 100% plus the interest rate, which will equal the 102.9%. So the interest rate is going to be the 2.9%. You always start off with 100%. So if I put £5 into my bank, I've got 100% of that £5, and then the interest rate is on top of that 100%. So our answer here will be 2.9%. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line. And we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010. And we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10. What is it? 990. Now, when we're looking at limits with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that V can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.